I'm going to start recording this, so you'll have it. I'm on the wrong thing now. All right. So let's try. So this is graphing. Remember graphing? What do you do to graph something like this? Remember anything? It's been a while. What do we do?
Y-intercept point.
Get y alone. Yeah, it's all about get y. So let me write some steps, and I'd encourage you right now, start throwing stuff on your final preparation full sheet. So to graph, the steps for graphing. Step number 1, get y alone. And then once you have y alone, you can find everything from there. So let's do it. So x plus 3y is 6. So what do I do to get y alone? Jump over that x. Yeah, so grab that x and jump it over. So 3y is minus x plus, is that okay? So that positive x jumps over, becomes a negative x. Right, when things jump to the other side, they switch signs. Last step to get y alone, divide through by 3. Boom. And so we get y is minus 1/3 x plus 2. That's good. 6 over 3 is just 2. Put that minus. I just put, when I have a fraction, I just put the minuses on the top. It's just easier. You can put it top or bottom. It's the same thing. I just put it at the top. I think it's easier. Okay, so I got y alone. Step 1, get y alone. And now, how do we graph? Where do we start? Where's our first dot? To 2. Yeah, it's that number right out there. There's our starting dot. Up 2 in the middle. If that was a minus 2, it'd be down 2 in the middle. So right there, there's our first dot at up 2 in the middle. Does that make good sense there? Here's our first dot. So that number off to the right, that's always on the middle line. Positive is up, negative is down from the middle. Okay, now, how do we get our, all we need is 2 dots, right? How do we get our second dot? Rise over run, huh? So this is rise over run. So rise over run. Slope is rise over run. So go down 1 over 1, 2, 3. There it is. Connect the dots. And on the test, it's just multiple choice. So you'll just grab the one that looks like that. Find all multiple choice, like all the rest of the tests have been. So move on. Number 2, find the slope. Remember there's a formula for slope? So I'd encourage you. So the problem we just did, you could, if you need to. Now, some of you guys are like, hey, I know that slope stuff. I don't need to put that down. Then great, don't. Whatever you need, whatever you think you might have trouble remembering. If you might have trouble remembering, get y alone, then find the starting point, then find the rise and the run, then write it on your full sheet of notes. If you feel like you got it, then don't worry about writing it down. So number 2, slope. Remember the slope formula? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'll write that down for you. Okay, so slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That might be a good one to put on just throw it on your full sheet of notes. Okay, so here we go. Now what is y2, x, all that? So this is x1, y1, and this is x2, y2, right? Just means first point's x and y value, second point's x and y value. And so y2, that'd be minus 15. Minus y1, which is minus 11, over x2, minus 15, minus x1, minus 15. See how we have the double negatives? We have the negatives from the formula, right? Those subtraction symbols built right into the formula. And then the 4 numbers we're plugging in are also negative. And so you know how that works. That's minus 15 plus 11, minus 16 plus 3. What is that? Minus 4 over minus 15. 2 negatives cancel. 4 fifteenths. Wait, not 15. That's 13, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just let me know when I do something crazy like that. There we go. So there we go. The 2 negatives cancel. 4 thirteenths positive in the end. That good? It's all coming back? All right, I'm going to be moving rapidly on this. Will all be on YouTube. Okay, number 4. Graph that and find the slope. Okay, so we want to graph that. Let me rewrite this equation for you over here. 1 minus 4x equals 8 plus 2x. Okay, so what's weird about this equation? There's no y, there's only x. So go ahead and just solve for x, since that's the only letter. That's all we can do. So go ahead and solve for x. You can't solve for y, since there is no y. Just go ahead and solve for x. Yeah, it's the zip code, huh? Yeah. All right, so solve for x here. Solve for x. So let's add 4x to both sides. Boom. So we get 1 equals 8 plus 6x. And you could have subtracted the 2x either way. Just get rid of one of them. It doesn't really matter which one. Let's subtract 8 from both sides. Then we get minus 7 is 6x. Last step. Divide by 6, so x is minus 7/6. Now that's kind of weird, isn't it? X is minus 7/6. What's that? Is that like a slope, or what is that? Well, that means it's a line. The graph, I'll do it right here. The graph hits the x-axis is this one, huh? Hits the x-axis at minus 7/6. Now what is minus 7/6? Yeah, if you just divide it on your calculator, if you're not sure, just take calculator, go 7 divided by 6. You'll get minus 1 point, I think it's 16666, something like that. So in other words, here's minus 1, here's minus 2. It's a little past minus 1. I probably went a little too far, but you get the idea. It's a line that goes straight through the x-axis, a little past negative 1. That's a little more than negative. It's not a slope. Why is that not a slope? That's not y equals. Remember, slopes are only when you have y equals and it's the fraction next to x, not x equals. That's not a slope. Just divide that on your calculator. That's minus 1.16 whatever, which means it's a line that goes straight through the x-axis, x equals, at negative 1.6. Which is, which one, A, B, C, or D? Yeah, there it is. C. The slope, what's the slope? Oh yeah, they do ask for the slope. What's the slope of that line? Oh, it's undefined. Yeah, straight up and down, that's an undefined. You might want to write that on your sheet of notes. Slope, when it's straight up and down, that slope is so steep, we can't even give it a number. That's what it's infinity, basically. It's perfectly steep, infinitely steep. Undefined means it's too big to even be a number. What about if you have a graph that is flat, like this? What if you have a flat? What's the slope on that? That would be 0 slope, wouldn't it? If you have a flat line. All right, let's move on. We good there? Questions on that one? Let's start number 5. Number 5 gives you a slope and a point, and I want you to find the equation. Remember we had a whole process for that? So find the equation. So how do we find the equation? Well, I gave you the game plan. You write m equals, because slope equals. Remember the slope? I said just use the slope formula. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But I said, hey, make it blanks in the back and just a plain y and plain x. So it's like a simple version of the slope formula. It's supposed to be x down here. So I gave you the encouragement to just use the slope form for which ones? This was hard on a final. When they say equation, when they say find the equation, you see all the answers are multiple choice equations. I said just use the slope formula, but use a simple version of the slope formula, where instead of y1, x1, just plain y's in the front, blanks in the back, and then plug in the stuff you need. So grab this right here and plug it in. And then this is an x value and a y, right? Because x always comes first and then y. So the x goes behind the x and the y behind the y. So what do we get? 3/4 is 3/4 What goes in the back there? -8, 6. Get you there. Now what are we going to do? Cross multiply, right? Remember we have two equal fractions, we just cross multiply. 3 times x minus 6 is 4 times y plus 8. The double negative there became positive, huh? We good? Distribute 3x minus 18. Distribute 4y plus 32. And we're, now in the end, they want us to get y alone, I believe, don't they? Yeah, y. They want y equals. They want y alone. So let's get y alone. What do we do to get y alone? Subtract that 32, right? Minus 50. Last step. Divide through by 4. So there it is. So that's 3/4 x, and 50 over 4. Divide top and bottom by 2. 25 halves. There it is. Y equals 3/4 x minus 25 halves. Remember that? Coming back a little bit? So it just takes a lot of practice to you really have to review for a math or science final. I did too. I had to put a lot of hours in. Good. I'll move on. If you're good, no questions? Okay, so number 7 here. They're saying Everton College paid $17.48, 46 calculators, $9 for scientific, the graphing, 55, how many of each? All right, so you got the key facts there. Let me write down the key facts. It's $17.48 total. $17.48 total. $9. $9 for the scientific. 55 for the graphing. And did it say how many calculators? Oh, 46. 46 calculators. Okay, so there's the So what do we do in a money problems? Anybody remember? We have one equation that has no money in it, and another equation that's all about money. Remember that? We separate those out. One's just like total objects. The other's all about the money. So write one equation. So I'm going to use like S and G for scientific and graphing. You can use X and Y if you want to, but I think it's helpful to use meaningful letters. So I'm going to go number of scientific plus number of graphing is 46 calculators total. That's no money, that's just objects, right? Number of scientific plus number of graphing, 46 total. And then down below we bring in the money. The scientific are $9 each. So 9S. The graphing are $55 each plus 55G. And the total money, $17.48. See how that's got money all the way across it? So now, what are we going to do?
We go back to the no money formula and get one of the others by itself and then plug it in?
Yeah. You can do that, or you can do the opposites thing.
Yeah.
Whichever, you could make this minus 9s and plus 9s and add them and the s's will drop out. Or you can do the get one alone plug in. Do you guys care? Is one easier for you than the other? The plug in. Most people like the plug in, I found. I always like the opposites, but that's okay. Whichever way you like. So maybe I'll just jump over the g here. So then that'll be s is 46 minus g. Like that, and then you just grab that and you plug it in right there for s in the other equation. You just get one of the letters, doesn't matter which letter, just get one alone in one equation, plug into the other. If you like that method instead of the making opposites. And so then it's 9 times, what's s? 46 minus g plus 55g is 1748. Is that good there? Then distribute. Gonna need a calculator here. Is it 414? Yeah. Minus 9g plus 55g. 1748 minus 9g plus 55 would be 46g, and then subtract 414. $13.34. And last step, divide by 46. And I'm getting 29. So 29 graphing calculators. And then you can just plug in right here to find the scientific, huh? Or you could just say, hey, there's 46 total. So just subtract from 46. 46 total calculators. If you know there's 29 graphing, just subtract. And you get the other one. So I'll work that out. So S is 46 minus 20. That G becomes 29. Is it 17? 17 scientific, 29 graphing. We're done. So it'd be good to put on your sheet of notes for the final a money problem. One example, or just the setup of a money problem. Maybe just this part, where you're just showing how money. There'll be one money problem on the final. Good questions on that? Okay. Okay. So a car travels at 42 miles an hour. If it had gone 14 miles an hour faster, it could have made the trip in a half hour less time. How far's the trip? How far's the trip? So we use the dirt formula. And the car travels at 42 miles an hour. Is that a distance, rate, or time? That's a rate. If it had gone 14 faster, so if you take 42 and you add 14, that's 56, huh? So this is the faster, isn't it? So it's what the car actually did, and then if he'd gone faster, if he'd gone 56 miles an hour, 14 faster, it could have made the trip in a half hour less time. So that's time. Half, what do you do when they say less? Minus. So this is going to be x minus, and just use 0.5 instead of a fraction. I think decimals are easier. And this one will be x. Does that make sense? That's what we always do when a word problem says blah, 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 3 more, x plus 3. Blah, 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 4 less, x minus 4. Huh. So if they say blah, 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 half less, x minus 0.5. And the other box is just x, isn't it? because this one is x, the other one less 0.5. Okay, now I've got 4. Remember, once you get 4 boxes, how do you get the front 2? So step 1, get 4 boxes from the words. Get 4 boxes from the words. Step 2, how do you get the other 2 boxes? Use D equals R times T for the other 2 boxes. Right? You don't use the words, you just use the formula. Distance is equal to rate multiplied by time. So this box here will be this box times that box, 42x. And this box here will be this times this, 56 times x minus 0.5. We get to there? And then step 3, use last 2 boxes to write an equation. So I'm going to take the 42x and the 52x minus 0.5 and set them equal. Why are they equal?
Same distance.
Yeah, it's the same trip. How far is the trip? It's the same trip. We're just, the distances are the same, aren't they? We're just doing it faster or slower. So the 2 distances must be equal, must be the same. Solve that thing for x, distribute on through. 56x minus, isn't that 28? 42x. X is saying I want to be alone. Subtract 56x from both. Minus 14x minus 28. Last step to get x alone. Divide by minus 14. And x is 2. Now, careful, don't go looking for 2 as your multiple choice answer, because remember what you got to remember. Wouldn't it be a bummer to do all that good work and answer wrong at the end? We got to always pay attention to what they're asking. What is it they want to know from us on this problem? What are they asking for? How far's the trip, huh? How far's the trip? So remember, this X is like a key. I can unlock any of those doors. I just got to make sure I go to the right door. What door do they want? Where's the how far door? Yeah, distance. Like you can grab that right there. There's our distance. Right there. Grab that 42x. And just take that 2. So I'm going to take 42x and I'm going to plug the 2 in. It's 42 times 2. It's 84 miles. 84 miles must have been the trip distance. Everybody see what I did at the very end? Just find the box they're asking for. They're asking for, now, for distance. So I use the 42x, that's the distance box. And we're good. 84 miles is there. You could have used the other distance box. It would have worked the same. Either one would give you the same answer. Remember, they're equal. We said those 2 boxes are equal. So there we go. Want to try that one real quick? Number 9, can you graph that? Here. So 5x minus 4. Okay, so to get y alone, subtract 9x from both sides. Like that. It's totally okay just to leave y on the right side. Doesn't matter at all. Let's go ahead and graph. Where do we start? Where's our first dot? Right here. Yeah, remember you always start with the number that's off to the right. That's in the middle. And if it's negative, it's down. So down 4. So right there. Good so far? Down 4. Those jumps are going by 2, aren't they? Okay. So now, where do we go? In fact, I don't like that they're going down by 2. I'm just going to make my own graph. How about that? Let's make my own graph. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, right there. So down by 4. Okay. Now, where do we go from there? We grab the slope, don't we? So this is minus 4 over 1. This is rise over run. So I'm going to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1, 2, 3, 4. Over 1. Connect the dots.
You can apply that negative to the top or bottom, so you can go up 4.
Yeah.
And left 4.
Good. I always just put it on the top, but what Wendy says is totally true. Yeah, so I just let the negatives go to the top, and so they'll always be down 4. I just found that's easier for students over the years, but yeah, that's true. We good there? So everybody see how I got that line? Now, we're not done. It's going to have shading. You would see that on the multiple choice test. They'd all be shaded. So it's just a matter of deciding which side. Now, that's tricky for a lot of people. Let me give you just a second. Okay, how do we know? How do we know which side? Is it greater or is it less? I've had a lot of students over the years. You, of course, are right, Claudia. But I've had many students over the years. They'll look at that and go, Miss Turner, that's a less than symbol. When it's going that way, it's a less than. They're not thinking correctly about the greater than less than. You can't just look at it and say if it's that way, it's always less. If it's that way, it's always greater. That's not true. That's not true. It depends who's on which side. In other words, let me say what is true. The y, is he on the wide side? If so, he's greater. Or is the y on the narrow side? It's all about y, whether he's on the wide side or the narrow side. Here's the y. Is he on the wide side of the symbol or the narrow? The wide. So he's greater. So, and greater things are indeed the right side, the above side. Does that make sense? So, for example, if I write this, you see I'm saying 3 is greater. He's on the wide side. If I write it like this, I'm saying the same thing. That still says 3 greater. Do you see what I mean? It just depends on who's on which side. You can't just look at a symbol and, say it always says the same thing. It doesn't. It depends who's on which side. Whoever's on the wide side is the bigger. Whoever's on the narrow side, that's the smaller. So when y here is on the wide side of the symbol, y is greater. It's all about y. It's all about y. Y is greater. Where's the greater? Here's the y-axis. Where's the greater y values? Up there, huh? Shade that above right side. We good? Okay. All right, try number 11 there. 22 maybe. All right, so yeah, first 2, last 2. First 2, last 2. And you take out what you can, what's in common to the first 2. So what's in common to just the first 2? R squared. That leaves r minus 4. Plus, and what's in common to just the back 2? 6 r minus 4. Okay. So, and then we don't stop there. Remember, when these two things have the same piece, namely the r minus 4 piece, you take it out, remove it, start a new set of parentheses, and bring down the leftovers. Bring down the r squared, bring down the plus 6. There's the answer. Is that good? Remember that?
So you're factoring out the r minus 4 because that's what's in common.
Yeah. Right. Everybody see what Wendy's saying? This r minus 4 is like a triangle or something that they both have. And so I just took it out. Right? I just put it in the front because they both have one. It's kind of what it's like. They both have a parenthesis r minus 4. So when they both share a common element, you put that thing in the front, and then you start a new set of parentheses and put what's left over, right? Because that whole r minus 4 could go boom to the right of the r squared and boom to the right of the 6, couldn't it? Be back where we started. Good. All right, let's try number 12. 12 is a little tricky. Let me help you. You got to reorder those first off. Remember, put them in order from highest power to lowest.
The answer on the practice exam didn't do that.
There's different ways to write the answer. So on this one, I know what Claudia means. Let me explain. So put them in order. So minus t squared plus t plus 30. So when you remember, when you reorder them, whatever sign's in front, you take that with them. Okay, now when you have a minus in front, you need to factor out a minus 1, and all signs change. Do you remember that? When you have a negative in front, you factor out a negative 1, because if that negative 1 multiplied through, it would go back, wouldn't it? And then do the two parentheses, what, and t's in the front. What two numbers multiply to be 30 and add to be minus 1? 6 and 5. Sign in the middle goes on the bigger. Minus 6 plus 5 makes minus 30. It multiplied to minus 30. And minus 6 plus 5 is negative 1 in the middle, huh? And then and so that's, Math Excel will take that answer. It knows that answer's the same thing. So you can just give it that answer. Or it's the same thing as 6 minus t, 5 plus t. That's another version of the same answer. You could see that if you took that minus 1 and multiplied it in, it'd make that minus t and make that plus 6. It's another way of saying the same thing. Right, so I better move on. Come talk to me more if you want to about that. But I would just do it this way. I think it's easiest to follow. Like that. So, again, when they're out of order, reorder them from highest power to lowest. And if the front is a negative, when there's negative in the front, so if there's negative in the front, factor out negative 1, all signs change. Are you with me? So when there's negative in the front, factor out a negative 1, all signs change. And then just finish it from there. So there's something like that for sure on the final, where they're out of order, you got to put them in order, negative in the front, factor out negative 1, all signs change, and then finish from there. Good to put on your full sheet of notes, that whole example probably. Okay, so 13, we're supposed to factor. What's the first step in every factoring problem? GCF. Take out what's in common. Let me let you do that.
Like, if all the last digits is...
So yeah, so looking at these, what goes into all those numbers? 3 does. Yeah, you just use your calculator. So that'd be 6a squared minus 13a plus 6, like that. And now, so that's the easy part, right? Take out a 3. Now the hard part. How do you do what's left? Do you now complete? Yeah. So to factor this, put it in a big box like that. So the 6a squared goes right there. The 6 goes right there. The other two boxes, somehow these two boxes have to make the minus 13a, don't they? Okay, so how are we going to do it? What's up? Did the diamond thing too? Okay. You guys are teaching me. All right. Yeah. So you multiply. Yeah, that's right. When you have a number in the front, multiply the back. 6 times 6, 36, right? And then the middle goes here. So the middle goes there. 6 times 6, 36 goes there. And then you find on your calculator two numbers that multiply to be 36 and can make the minus 13. Yeah, that's what we did, huh? That is the way we did it. So it's front. So when do you how are you going to remember when you need to do all this stuff? When you've got 3 terms, number in the front. See how some of the other ones we did, like right here, we had no number in the front, right? It was just t squared or x squared or whatever. So no number in the front. Those are easy. Just what multiplies to be the back, what adds to be the middle, no problem. You don't need all the fancy stuff. But for this harder kind, when you had a number in the front, that's when you have to multiply the front times the back. So step 1, multiply front times back and put that right there. And then put the middle the middle right there, and then find 2. Now use your calculator. What times what is 36? 6 times 6, that won't make 13 though.
5 and 6. Wait, sorry. 13.
Calculator? 4 times 9. 4 times 9, what signs do they need to add to b? Remember, they have to add to be the minus 13, multiply to be the plus 36. What signs do we need? Both minus, right? 2 minuses add to be a bigger minus. 2 minuses multiply to be positive 36. Minus 4, minus 9. Bring those. Now, I should have put an a here. And this is actually 36a squared. So these both need an a on them. So this is minus 4a, minus 9a. Either order. See how they make minus 13a? I know there's a lot to this, isn't there? This isn't easy. So we do all that, and then we do GCF. We find, like, what's in common. What's in common? Yeah, you know, guys, that's just getting so complex. I'm done with that. I'm just done. I just don't believe in it. I know different people teach you different ways. Guys, I'm just going to go back. I think this is easier. I really do. I would just start guessing. Just guess. And you'll get better. You will. You'll get faster and faster till we can just see it. All that box stuff is just so cumbersome. Let's just get the training wheels and off, and let's ride the bike. I remember one of my daughters teaching her to ride, and she's like, "Dad, I can ride. Take those training wheels off. I can ride." Anyway, she could. I was just scared for her. But anyway, yeah, let's just get the training wheels off. Let's just guess. And so in other words, let's just say 2 numbers, front times front to make front. Right? What times what makes 6a squared? 2a, 3a. It's probably 2 and 3. It might be 6 and 1. But it's probably 2 and 3. It's usually the numbers closer together. 2 and 3, right? They have to multiply to be 6. They also have to multiply to be the 6 at the back. How are they going to multiply to be the 6 at the back? 3 and 2 again. 3 and 2. Now, remember I gave you the tip? It's not going to be like that. Why not? You're never going to have 2 numbers in the same parenthesis that have anything in common. Why? Because then you could factor out the 2. And we've already done the factoring out. We factored out a 3 in common to them all. So it's never going to be that way. The 3's got to be here and the 2's got to be there. See how this 2 and 3 have nothing in common? These guys have, because there's nothing more in common. We already did the GCF. There's nothing more in common later. We already did the GCF on step 1. Okay, so now is that right? Is that correct? Maybe. Let me put in plus signs. I know it's not really plus in the end, but let me just stick in plus for now and check it. This is really the magic bullet. Just check it. Just foil it. Foil it and foil it and foil it. And you'll get quicker and quicker. Boom, boom. What's that going to be? 6a squared plus 4a, boom, boom, plus 9a plus 6. That makes 13a in the middle. That's looking good. Except it needs to be negative. So go back and make both these negative. Negative, negative. That'll make both these negative. And that's still plus 6. And so there it is. There's the answer. So just guess around and just foil it out. Foil it out. Foil it out until it's right. That's the best way. I know there's lots of opinions on it.
This is just because it isn't equal to 0.
What's that?
Because it's not equal to 0, then you have to do this.
Yeah,
instead
we just
of
stop right here. Yeah, because there's no equal to 0. We don't go any further. Just stop right there. Okay, so number 14, try that one. Got to take out negative 5b. Right, that's the GCF. First step's always GCF, right? What do they all have in common? Negative 5b. So that leaves 4b squared plus 4b minus 3. We good to there? GCF, first step, always take out what's in common. If it's negative, take it out as negative. And now, what are we going to do from here? Now's the guessing thing. So what multiplies to be 4b squared? 2b, 2b. What multiplies to be 3? 3 and 1, or 1 and 3? I would suggest at first just make them both plus, and then just FOIL it. See if it's right. And then fix the signs as needed. See what I'm saying? Just check it. Just FOIL it. Is it right? 2b goes to both. That'd be what? 4b squared plus 2b. This guy goes to both. Plus 6b plus 3. The more you FOIL like that, the quicker you'll get, and the more you'll be able to start seeing them in your head. You'll dream FOIL. So now, how can I make, they have to add to be the middle, don't they? They have to make 4. How can a 6 and a 2 somehow make plus 4b there? What signs do I need to mess with? I need to make this 2b become negative. Then 6 minus 2 is plus 4 in the middle, huh? How can I make, what does that? This right here has to be negative, because negative 1 times 2 will make that negative 2. See that? That's correct. Now you can try the FOIL, you'll see that that's right. So then that's our answer. It works. So in the end, just FOIL it out. See if it's working.
I curiously wanted to ask if everybody was going to take 4A and
Let's try 15 is valuable also. Let's do 15. So what's the first step in every factoring problem? GCF. So number 15, take out what's in common. Okay, so let's take out 4a, leaves g to the fourth minus k to the fourth. Right, take out what's in common. Now, what do you do with those fourth powers? Anybody remember? g2, g2, k2, k2, 1 plus 1 minus, like that, because positive times negative will make negative k to the fourth. Remember how to factor difference of squares? Now we're not done there. Do you see that? This is a hard one. A lot of people won't remember this, but this is a good one to put on your full sheet of notes. What do we do from there? This piece right here can go further. This one's done. So the 4a, the g2 plus k2 is done. But this part, change the color here, will break into 2. It'll be g minus k, g plus k. Now we're done. Do you remember that? Remember that the minus double difference of squares can be broken up? But the plus is done. Remember when you get the plus, that just stays as it is. But the minus can go more. There's more to do when you have a minus in the middle. Remember that we learned about that? We learned a lot of things, didn't we? Is that good? So practice that. Put it on your full sheet of notes. 16, wire. The stretch of the ground to the top of an antenna tower. The wire is 10 feet long. So they're basically saying, so you got the ground. Well, here I'm not drawing that very well. You got the ground. You get this antenna. So you get this wire. Wire stretching the ground to the top. The wire is 10 feet long, right? From the ground to the top of an antenna tower. The wire is 10 feet long. The height of the tower is 2 feet greater. So the tower over here, my tower's not so straight, is it? Try to do a little better job here. There we go. So the tower over here. What's the height of this tower? 2 greater. Whoops. 2 greater than D. So that's 2 plus D. And this is D, the ground, from the base to where the wire hits. Does that make sense? 2 greater than D? So there's a picture. What formula are we going to use? The Pythag. A squared plus B squared is C squared. It's okay if you don't know the name. As long as you know it, that's all that counts. I'm not going to quiz you on the name. Who discovered the formula A squared plus B squared equals C squared? Who cares?
People in these triangle problems, if they don't mention area, then you're going to use this.
Well said. Yeah, if it's a triangle and they don't say area, it's going to be Pythag. A squared plus B squared is C squared. Now, when you use the Pythag, the main thing is just to know which one's C. Because A and B are interchangeable. It doesn't matter what order. Which one's C? Longest, which is the 10. The side across from the right angle. So that's the 10. The other two, D squared, plus, and then 2 plus. I'm going to make this D plus 2. It's just how we're used to seeing it. So then that becomes... Now, this is kind of a long one now. D plus 2, D plus 2. This is 100. 10 squared is 100. I didn't realize this problem was going to get ugly. D squared plus 2D, boom, boom, plus 2D plus 4 is 100. D squared and D squared, 2D squared, 2D, 2D, 4D plus 4 is 100. We're going to have a bunch more work to do, aren't we? So we get to there. So now you got to get a 0. You got to get a 0 on the right side. Try to factor that thing. If it doesn't factor, you can do the quad. Probably going to do the quad. I'm going to go to a fresh thing. What do we get? 2D squared plus 4D plus 4. And you got to get a 0, subtract 100. Minus, it'd be minus. And I'd factor out a 2. Oh, good, it's going to factor. How's that one factor? What multiplies to be 48? So this is an easier kind of factor. What multiplies to be 48? 6 times 8. Sign in the middle. Isn't the bigger? Plus 8 minus 6. So then you ignore the 2, because that doesn't have a D in it. Just take every part that has a D, set it equal to 0. So jump it over. So D is plus 6. Or D is minus 8. You can't have a minus 8 distance, right? Math, we always got to keep one foot in reality because math doesn't know about the real universe. We can't have negative distances, so the answer is 6. D is 6. So they're going to say, what is the distance? That is 6. And then they say, what's the height of the tower? Well, that's D plus 2. So if D is 6, 6 plus 2, that's 8, isn't it? We all good with all that work there? And all that work there? Questions I can answer? There's a lot of work in this class, isn't there? Is it? All right, 18. In fact, let me just rewrite 18. I don't like those z's. I'm going to make them x's. 8x minus 16 over x minus 4. Or x squared minus 4, huh? X squared minus 4 minus 2 minus x over 4 minus x squared. Okay, so how do we do it? What are we going to do? This one has a lot of issues. It's a hard problem. This right here. We cannot have the x subtracted at the back. Remember we learned about that? We got to flip it. We got to make it x squared minus 4. We want the x in the front. But when we flip it, something else has to happen. What else has to happen? You have to put a minus in the front. You can't just flip it and do nothing. you have to flip it and put a minus in the front. Then it's okay because you haven't really changed it. That's really the same thing. Do you see that? If you distribute that minus through, that's still minus x squared plus 4, which is the same as plus 4 minus x squared. That's the same, isn't it? So you don't have to, I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just proving to you that it's okay to do this, to flip it. So you flip and put a minus in the front. So when x is subtracted at the back, flip and put negative in the front. So we do that. So, okay, so what does that give us? 8x minus 16 over x squared minus 4 minus, with a minus in the front now. Good? To there. Now what do we do with that minus in the front? These two minuses get together, don't they? Remember, being on the bottom of a fraction or the top or the front, it's all the same thing. There's no difference. They just get together. Two minuses make plus. So then that becomes 8x minus 16 plus. And so what becomes of that? Now we can combine them. Whoop, that's supposed to be minus. What am I doing? So 8x and minus x is 7x. Minus 16 plus 2 is minus 14. And the bottom we can factor, can't we? X plus 2x minus 2? Or here, I can take that in two steps. So let's do that more slowly. We'll just keep it x squared minus 4 at first. And now, last step is we need to factor both the top and the bottom. Take out a 7 on the bottom. X plus 2, x minus 2. Am I going too fast? Everybody see what I did there? Right, so 8x minus 1x made 7x. And minus 16 plus 2 made minus 14. Common denominators right there. And then we factor that denominator, factor that, and what can we do? Cancel these out. So the final answer is 7 over x plus 2, isn't it?
That's one of my favorite parts.